Hi everyone. Of course, one of the things that people ask me when it comes to Georges Latour, is there anyone who hasn't read the book? Or, yeah, you haven't read the book, but you're aware of the character. You're not aware of the character. Okay, but anyway, for those who are not aware of the character, just for public service, Georges Latour was a comic book character that was released in a comic book, self-published in 2003, and in 2006, Tanghalang Filipino adapted it into a musical, and in the same year, Regal Films adapted it into a major motion picture. Right now, I'm developing the sequel to Georges Latour. Now, we're talking about characterizations. I think the experts have already talked much about characterizations and on what you need to do and what you need not do and what you should avoid. So right now, maybe what I could do is to try and go more personal and describe what happened to me when it came to this character, this monster. I used to call her a monster. Because what happened was, I created Georges Latour around 2002 because I came up with the idea of someone swallowing a stone that big. So it was just a really powerful image for me. And since that time, the story just, it's like you suddenly got nauseous and you started vomiting things, and then that's what happened with this story. And then, when it was released in 2003, I started getting text messages and saying that the book was going the rounds of the ad agencies, because apparently I guess the ad agencies loved the book. And then I got further text messages saying that this member of some rock band loved the book, and then some friend of some friend loved the book, and then people were starting to send the book abroad, people were starting to send it to the provinces, and then it won National Book Award. And through all that time, the one thing that was in my mind was, how the hell did that happen? Bakit? Ano bang meron siya? Sino ba siya? So I spent years trying to unlock the Jaja code, if ever there was one. Because there came a point when, you even get newspaper columnists. Rina Jimenez David talked about Saturna, Michael Tan talked about Saturna. Well, of course, Rui Rivera talked about Saturna, and so many people were talking about this character. And eventually, there are two things that occurred to me about Jaja. Number one, the conclusion came when I had a talk in Lasal about storytelling, and essentially, it's you give people what they want to see in a way they've never seen before. So since that epiphany, that's more or less what I'm riding on. The fact that, again, every story that can conceivably be told has been told, and so now it's up to you as a creator to see saan mo pwedeng baliin ng kwento. So now I have a homosexual and who gets a stone and gets transformed into a woman, and along the side, madumi ang bibig niya, and my market is really skewed toward the older folk. So you're talking about people from 25 to 35 and even older. So it may surprise some people to learn that even, I've had fathers walk up to me getting their book signed at dala-dala pa nila yung anak nila. Up on the other side of the spectrum, you get women, wonderful, beautiful women approaching me and getting their autograph signed, getting my autograph. So if you guys want to get really gorgeous women, lining up, write about a homosexual. But seriously, so that's number one. Give them something that they want to see in a way they've never seen before. Give them something that they want to see, arguably can fall under what we call formula. And I'm sure a lot of you know what formula is all about. It's something, yeah, okay, we've seen that one before. And then your responsibility as a creator is to try and see what area hasn't really been explored. Okay, in a sense, in my case, it was easy. Because for the longest time in Philippine culture, the Filipino homosexual has only had one archetype. And in my story, I have three. So here you're providing a range of characters. And then someone asked me, Carlo, ikaw ba si Jaja? Or at work, Carlo, ikaw si Ada eh. And no one tells me that I'm Queen Femina. No one tells me that I'm Dodo. But then I tell them, even until the giant frog, I'm the giant frog. Because as Neil Gaiman said, in order for you to thresh out a character properly, you have to inject a part of you into them so that you will understand where they're coming from. I had a little workshop here in the Ateneo with some high school kids, and one of them said, I want to do a story about a terrorist. How do I do a story about a terrorist? Of course, my first thought is, why do you want to do a story about a terrorist? You're what, third year high school? And I said exactly the same thing. Take something of yourself, put it into that character so that at least you know where he's coming from. Have you been abandoned by your parents? Have you been dissed by your girlfriend? Are you angry at the government? So it's taking something from you and putting it into this other person. So when you write that person, it's real to you. And when it becomes real to you, it most probably will become real to your reader. Because I'm sure there's someone out there who has been abandoned by his or her parents, or hates the government, or has been dissed by a lover. The second thing that I put to mind when creating a character, of course, you have to have the variety. I'm doing the sequel right now, so so for the first book, I had the introvertish, coy homosexual. I had the foul-mouthed but fun homosexual, and then I have the hunky, straight-acting homosexual. So those are three homosexuals for good measure. And now with the sequel, of course, I have to come up with more. So there will be more different types of homosexuals in the sequel. And again, I'm doing this because essentially this is what my audience wants to see. And maybe for some creative types, you're thinking, that's so pop. It's like Kesha. I mean, you heard TikTok, I'm sure. I love the album. Because essentially, she gives me what I want to hear, which is bubblegum, techno, electronic pop. Of course, the album is not perfect, but then, I get some songs that I like, and there are some songs that I don't like. But then, she speaks to me as a fan of trashy pop. So, as an author, in one way, you search yourself for that one thing you can inject into your character, and secondly, you have to look at what your reader is actually looking for, especially if you develop a fan base. And that was the one thing that I guess troubled me during the past few years, because I wanted to do something else, honestly. I wanted to try something, I didn't want to write about homosexuals anymore. I wanted to do science fiction or fantasy. But then you get emails and you get people approaching you and people knocking on the door and saying, "Where's the sequel? Where's the sequel? Where's the sequel?" Even though I never announced that I would be making a sequel, they said, "Where's the sequel?"